So, this has been a bit of a long time coming. Although I have been a little bit open about this to people who I know for reals, but now here I am sharing about this online with internet strangers. So, I'm just gonna come out and say it. I'm fictosexual. Right, yeah. Now I bet you're all wondering, what is fictosexual exactly? Well, to answer your question, fictosexual is basically a sexuality where someone has sexually or romantic attraction to fictional characters. Now, I've always identified myself as asexual for the longest time, but then there were times I've always wondered to myself, why, if I'm asexual, why do I only like fictional characters? Luckily, I did get my answer when I looked it up, and, well, I discovered fictosexual, which is apparently in the asexual gray gray sexual, area of things, which honestly explains it because, well, that's what I consider myself, so it makes sense. So, yeah. Now, when I first learned about this, of course, I decided to do a little bit of research to see if maybe this was why, I'm not attracted to, real life boys. Because boys who've always said, hey, I actually really like you. I'm like, yeah, I know how you feel, but I don't feel the same. That's basically how it would go. And yeah, that's when I started to realize. But that's pretty much got me thinking, okay, if I don't like real boys, but I like fictional boys, then what is it? And I'm like, oh, but then just learning about this whole thing, I'm like, oh yeah, this would explain why. Now, in the fictosexual community, there are a few things you should know. Is that some people would prefer to call their some people do actually have not just crushes on fictional characters, but actually act like they are in actual relationships with characters. So maybe you would say it's kind of not really a real relationship or fake. Well, but I don't really know what to call it, but hey, so what? And well, most people would prefer to call their maybe their romantic cartoon partners either their FOs, which stands for fictional others, or SOs, their significant others. Or, well, for me, I use FO and or sometimes fictional lovers, for the name. So yeah. But yeah. So yes. Now, I think I should talk about, being in relationships with, fictional characters. Now, some people who I think are already, who know a bit about fictosexuality and probably, have fictional others themselves. I'm sure some of you who probably don't have more than one. Because here's the thing, I have 4. Yeah. And of course, yes, I will be naming them. Of course, now, starting with the very first one, who was also my very first crush. As you all know, I was, a big sucker for the show Danny Phantom growing up, and still am. And, well, you know what? Danny was probably my fictosexual awakening, if you want to call it that. But back then, I was a kid, and I didn't even know what it was. But come on, I was obsessed with this guy's show, and just watching it every day and whatnot. So yeah. So yeah. I know you're thinking, Sumner, don't you ship him with Sam? I'm like, yes, but in another universe. And that's basically it. And now I do want to talk about my second FO, who, I gotta be honest, this character who I'm about to bring up, you're probably gonna think, seriously, Sumner? And well, now, I'm sure a lot of you know about the YouTube channel, Planet Dolan, right? Well, you see, ever since I was a teenager, I was really, and I mean really, madly, obsessed with the character Hellbent. And yeah, and because of this, I thought of making him one of my FOs, even though, yeah, I am aware of what the real life guy behind him did, which really sucks. But hey, let me tell you something. I once went on Reddit and asked people this question, and about loving someone even if the person behind them did something terrible, and they're like, yes, you can. Just separate the art from the artist, and that's exactly what I'm doing. Even if he may never really, the character himself may never really appear again in any videos due to what happened with them, the guy behind him, but I don't want to talk about it. I mean, then again, if you follow Planet Dolan, or like any Planet Dolan like accounts or anything, you probably already know what happens, or maybe you don't, which, it's not pretty. I'll just tell you that. So yeah. And now, I'm probably gonna get to my third FO that, well, who I'm going to say made me realize I was Ficto. And why do I bring this up? Because, well, here's what I'm about to tell you. So this next guy, he's actually, well, a villain from a TV show that's, well, I mean, like everyone else I grew up with, but I never really got too big into. But honestly, hey, went back and watched it as an adult, and I will say, like, this is a pretty good show. I can see why it's so beloved. Yeah. And, well, my third FO is, well, Ace from Powerpuff Girls. Yep, and also the substitute bassist from Gorillaz. Yeah, that's right. So how did this happen? Well, let's just say one time I decided to binge watch the OG Powerpuff Girls because what the heck? I, wanted to find something else to watch besides The Simpsons, so yeah, and I don't know why, but for some reason, Ace gave me some, feelings or something. Then again, I don't know if it was the episode Butter Crush that made me do it. Oh, and can I be honest? I kind of wish he would have done the same for me, like he did with Butter. He did the same for me, like what he did with Buttercup, but without any manipulation involved and all. So, yeah, and then, basically after I watched all the show, I'm like, okay, I know he didn't appear in many episodes, but my God, I'm almost at the end of the show, and I really want to see him again. I'm like, okay, I have two options. I can go watch the 2016 Powerpuff Girls, or I can, just go watch those two, or I could just finally go listen to Gorillaz, because I'm pretty sure I mentioned this, Powerpuff Girls is what finally made me start listening to Gorillaz. And, well, yeah, Ace was pretty much that exact reasoning why. So, yeah, so then I'm choosing. I'm like, you know what? No, I'm not watching that 2016 Powerpuff Girls. It sucks. I'm going to Gorillaz. And that's exactly what I did, even though he only made 2 appearances in 2 of their videos. But, hey, who cares? Although, I definitely want him to come back one day in Gorillaz. I mean, and I'm sure you can all agree. I mean, heck, I just introduced 3 new OCs who are his triplet daughters not too long ago, and who will be featured in an upcoming fan fiction that will be coming out in July. So, yeah. So, yeah, and yeah. Oh, yeah, basically, now, ever since then, I just fell madly in love with Ace and joined a new fandom, after that. And I still kind of like having to, cross over girls and Powerpuff Girls, even though I haven't really done it in a while. But, yeah. So, yeah. And now, we're at my 4th FO, who I'm just going to bring it up now. And I'm just gonna say, if it weren't for Ace, I would have never met him. And that's right, that is 2D from Gorillaz, of course. I mean, something about 2D just, I just find him so relatable and hilarious, and I don't know. And I mean, like I said in probably my Thoughts on Gorillas video that I made a few years back when I first got into gorillas, saw him. I see a little bit of him in me, and well, yeah. I mean, come on, the guy is just so like funny, hilarious, and my God, hey, I even feel bad for him because of what he goes through with Murdoch. Like really? I mean, really. Now, of course, when it comes to having these characters as my FOs, there are a few things I do notice, like worrying about, worrying about them or something, or feeling bad for them in some instances, like heck, like anytime any of them cries, I of course feel my heart break for them each and every time. Like one example was probably when I was watching, one day, instead of just rewatching one of the episodes of Powerpuff Girls, I just randomly went on the fandom wiki and read one of the scripts for an episode, because, well, I don't know, I was bored, okay, there was nothing better to do, and, I read the script for one of the later episodes from, like, the later seasons in the classic, which was the episode Aspiration, where Sedusa and the Gangrene Gang team up, and I don't know about you, but there was a part I read, which I don't know if I remember it being in the episode, maybe I have, but reading this scene now, it's like, I think it's when the girls are fighting Sedusa, and there's like a moment in the script where it mentions Ace and Snake shedding tears, and let me tell you, when I read that part, I was like, oh my God, because yeah, that's how I feel, like, my heart, like, it breaks for them. In fact, heck, same could also be said, like, into the, when I saw the music video for Silent Running, and that moment when he shed a tear, oh my God, my heart breaks for him. Although at the same time, I was also imagining, him thinking about Blue during that scene, even though, yeah, I'm like, oh, that's just part of your AU. I'm like, hey, a girl can imagine some of her own characters being in these situations with the canon characters, can't she? Yeah. Oh, and speaking of which, now another thing, though, you probably know. Now, like I mentioned, I ship Danny and Sam, but in another universe. And, well, you may also know, in my fan fiction, like Toonverse, each of these characters do in fact have fan kids, Ace being the recent one to, have triplet daughters that I just decided to randomly introduce, because, well, what the heck? I mean, I would have, made the fifth, sixth, and seventh creatures like some well-known characters instead of create new characters, but nah, my brain gave me a good idea, which, hey, because honestly, it probably would have been better. I wouldn't be able to get copyright to use those characters in future for something I might want to create with the creatures and the Cobbler sisters, but yeah. Now, here's one thing I bet you're all wondering. So Sumner, Danny has a son named Dice in your Toon World story, and Hellbent has Hella, and Ace has, the Cobbler sisters, like I recently mentioned, and Tootie has Blue. Are they your kids too? I'm like, no, they're not my kids. They're their kids in another universe. Just because I created them doesn't mean I'm their parent. I prefer to, do some stuff with. I prefer to, just put them in these different universes and all. So yes. So overall, I'll just say it. I am proud to be Ficto. Even if it means, people may think I'm a little weird or crazy for just liking fictional characters, but hey, trust me, I'm just at least happy I'm not like one of those, strange people on the internet who bring a cutout with them everywhere they go, which I definitely would not want to do. Like, that's just weird and really cringe in my opinion. And, I don't really have plans to, I don't think I ever want to get married to them. But, I don't know, kids are kind of a bit of a thing I want, but I don't really know. But hey, and hey, speaking of which, I actually started a third, Instagram account all about my cartoon Sona Flower Rose and me with my relationship, my FOs, in the style of the app Gotcha Life, which I know is cringe, but it was the only place I could use. Heck, I even started using it to create my own original characters. So hey, if you want to, please go follow it. It's called Flower Rose Ficto Lover, which you should totally check out. Anyways, that's it for today. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.